Good morning. I'm Andrew Lansley, and I'm Strategic Counsel at Lowe Associates, who have the privilege and pleasure of working with our colleagues at DG REGIO in support of the Border Focal Point Network. This is the 21st Beyond Borders Breakfast Debate. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, you are very welcome. Many of you, of course, have joined previous debates and know that these give a great opportunity for people working across borders throughout the European Union to be, as we have demonstrated in the past, living labs for European integration, tackling the issues of integrating communities across borders, sometimes across physical difficulties, linguistic difficulties, legal difficulties, and finding solutions, including through the work of the B Solutions, delivering opportunities to understand how those many difficulties legal and administrative, can be overcome. Today, we have a particularly exciting opportunity, which is to look at the issue of data availability. Previous Commission-led research has identified some of the limitations on access to data, but yet the importance of data as the means by which people can understand not only the problems for integrating communities across borders, but also the many opportunities that exist, and for creating increasingly smart communities working across borders. And the community, the Border Focal Point Network, speaks, as it were, for a community of cross-border regions across Europe. And they are very keen to hear today on the program called Across, which is all about data and analysis for cross-border regions. And our special event today will be a live demonstration of Across, that data hub for EU border regions, which will be delivered for us, and we're looking forward to it, by Matteo Bezzi. So I want to welcome all of our speakers and all of you participants. I look forward to this very much. And I would like to invite Ricardo Ferreira from DG REGIO to introduce our subject today. Please, Ricardo.
Thank you, Andrew, and good morning to all. For me, it's a pleasure to be here today in this, somehow giving an answer to a general call that we have had for so long. When we started this entire process of the Beyond funding support to cross-border cooperation, one constantly present request from the stakeholders was always on the need for cross-border data on cross-border interactions, not only on cross-border commuters, but all the different types of interactions. There is one clear reason why this exists, because the production of official statistics is normally associated to a mandate that is linked to the administrative territorial division. Therefore, the majority of official statistics on so many domains are border blind. They don't see the border. They don't see the territory that goes beyond the border. Therefore, we don't have statistics to assess public problems with a cross-border nature, with a cross-border perspective. We have been trying since then, since we have heard this call, we have been trying to input some outcomes to this process, to give some answers to this problem. And the first of the answers was a political answer, the answer provided by the European Commission communication of 2017 and the report of 2021. The first stating the need for boosting border regions as a motor of development, and the second one stating that border regions are indeed living laboratories of European integration. We frequently say what happens in a cross-border region may happen in international cooperation elsewhere. If it doesn't happen in a cross-border region, typically it won't work elsewhere. And one of these elements is precisely the element of data. We have had this call from public authorities, we have had this call from stakeholders, we have had this call from projects, from programs, from Interreg programs, from regional administrations. In the different subjects, everyone states we need data on cross-border interactions. And it's interesting, it's quite illustrative, the fact that today, with this border breakfast, we are breaching a record of registrations in the border breakfast. It's the one that has had the highest number of registrations, precisely stating the importance of the SIM. Since 2015, we have been producing several sets of data, but always project-based. We have worked on cross-border missing rail links, we have worked on cross-border healthcare projects, we have worked on methodologies for production on cross-border commuters, we have had data on the COVID impacts, we have had data on public services, etc., etc., etc. But the main issue is, all these different elements were project-based, therefore they suffer from a lack of sustainability. So what we are trying to take today is this step of ensuring sustainability by bringing all the different data sets together in one single EU data hub for border regions that should serve two purposes. On one side, it should allow administrations to use data for better policy making. On the other side, it should allow for research, for better awareness of the border effect and so on. It is essential to mention that this would not be possible without the courage of the JRC, that has accepted to become a huge partner on this entire process. And by joining the JRC, we are ensuring the long-term perspective for this data hub. Our idea is not to have a data hub that is a end project. It's not something complete. It's not supposed to be complete at any moment, because new interactions keep on appearing. It's a process by which we are providing the data that we are aware of, that will incentivize us to continue fostering for more data to be produced, and to feed that data for the purpose of the development of cross-border regions. But I would not go in details on the data hub. Matteo will explain it much better than I. Thank you so much.
Ricardo, thank you very much indeed for that excellent context and indeed our objectives for today. Absolutely, that's most helpful. Can I now just remind all of our participants that participation in this debate is active. We will have an opportunity for you to ask questions as we go through the day, and I will attempt to pick up those questions off the chat function. Do please put those questions up on the chat function. Do keep your eye on the chat, because there will be links and references that will be placed there which you can use and take for the future. Also, we invite all of our participants to join in two polls. The first now is to ask you a question, that is, what do you see as the biggest challenge to sharing data across borders? What do you see as the biggest challenge to sharing data across borders? And we're presenting you with a number of options, that is, regulatory and legal differences in data collection, sharing and privacy, or technical incompatibility of data systems and technologies, or language barriers and semantic differences, or lack of common data standardization approaches, or lack of data sharing systems. And if you think there are other big challenges not listed there, do please enter them into the response to the poll. So do please look through the chat and our colleagues will guide you if there is any difficulty accessing the poll, but do please give us your views and I will report the outcome of that poll shortly. Let me now, you've heard reference to the excellent work of the Joint Research Centre, and I want now to invite Alessandro Rainoldi from the Joint Research Centre, the head of unit there, to also to contribute to the context and the objectives of our discussion this morning. Alessandro, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew. And thanks to all the attendees, all those who are interested in understanding what Across is, so the new data hub for EU border regions. I'm honored to be here with you. I think that Ricardo has already gone through all the main elements that I would say frame the development of the data hub inside the EU policy effort towards border regions. And he has very well highlighted the importance of having data, reliable data, comparable data that are also easily and freely accessible to all from a single entry point. I think these are the kind of technical details, but are very important, I think, in order to make accessibility and use of data as friendly and easy as possible. I would like to make one point on why we are here together with DG REGIO. Why the GRC? Well, the GRC, you may know, is the Science and Knowledge Service of the European Commission, and we have the task of providing science, providing evidence, providing analytical findings to our colleagues in the different directorates generals of the Commission in order to make EU policy more effective and more targeted to really solving the concrete problems of and ambitions and I would say supporting the concrete ambitions of EU citizens. We have been working with DG REGIO extensively. I represent a unit called Territorial Development, so you can immediately spot the link between us and DG REGIO. And indeed, we have been working and dialoguing with Ricardo and his colleagues for some years. And finally, we have made it possible really to partner and to, I would say, deploy a joint effort in order to build and then nurture and then further develop this data hub, because as Ricardo has rightly said, this is not a snapshot. This has been a huge job, but this does not stop here. This will continue over time, and indeed, you all that are here today can help us, can give us your feedback and your thoughts about Across, about how it works, but also about maybe the data that you would have liked to see in Across and they're not there for any kind of reason. Maybe they might not be there also in a couple of years because of difficulties in standardization approaches, as the majority of you has pointed out in the poll, or technical incompatibility or regulatory differences or so on. How can we, I would say, not really overcome, but try to make it possible and try to tackle these issues? Well, we work on data using both official statistics when possible, and then going granular with data that we find or with data that we also develop internally. We have a huge experience in territorializing data, so to the, I would say, most granular level that is possible to actually achieve. And we are used to work both with statistics, official statistics, and with big data sources through the internet. And that combination gives, I think, a flavor of how we can put together in one point, in one hub, data that come from different sources but are strictly interrelated with each other. Because I also think that if we want to try to tackle the challenges and, as you said, Andrew, tackle obstacles, but also support opportunities that are there in border regions, we have to have a kind of a holistic approach to understanding what happens, what is happening in border regions, not focusing on a specific domain or policy or sector or theme, but trying to understand them as places where a multitude of phenomena occur at the same time, where people work, study, live. And so there are interactions in many different ways. So just to make a long story short, please give us your feedback. Have a look of how Across works, and happy to start this hopefully long journey together with you. Thank you very much.
Alessandro, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the not least for highlighting just how important the data, the acquisition and use of data can be. And of course, the JRC as an evidence-based policy-making unit centre really illustrates the power of data when it is applied to many of these problems. So, as you rightly said, Alessandro, our many participants have joined in our poll, and they have demonstrated that lack of common data standardization approaches is regarded as the biggest challenge, represented by 50%, I should say 50% plus one, because I think Alessandro couldn't get her vote in, but also agreed with that. But also a secondary challenge, but an important one, regulatory and legal differences in data collection, sharing and privacy. And also smaller numbers of participants thought that technical incompatibility or the lack of data sharing systems were also big challenges. And you see that represented in our graphic on the screen right now. So now we'll take the opportunity, as Alessandro said, the Across is a very significant program and has made tremendous progress, but we want also to understand that it is also continuing to be developed, and we're looking forward to hearing about that in a live demonstration from Matteo Bezzi, who is from the Joint Research Centre at ISPRA and is an expert working on this. Matteo, can you please take the floor and tell us about Across, the data hub for EU border regions, and also give us our live demonstration. Matteo, please.
Okay. Good morning to you all. Thank you, Andrews, and also thank you to Riccardo and Alessandro for your introduction and for setting the scene of these very ambitious, but at the same time essential projects on data on cross-border regions. So I would like to share my screen to start to give a bit of background information on the project and how this project has been set from the analytical and methodological point of view, and then sharing with you a live demonstration. So let me see if you can, I hope you can see my screen now.
Okay. Matteo, I can see your screen. Hopefully that's good. We've got some thumbs up. Yep, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, super. So we do think that mapping cross-border interactions and the socioeconomic trends of EU border regions is an essential task to support all the institutions and the stakeholders involved in those territories, because they need more accessible, understandable, and comparable data. The European Union, the Commission and all the policy DGs, they need to prepare the ground for the new programming period and to better understand what is occurring there. At the same time, the national authority they needs to monitor those regions, their performance, and also make a huge task of benchmarking. whereas regional and local authorities, they have this need of preparing their territorial strategies for the regional and local development actions. At last but not the least, even the scholars and the academian side, they need more high quality data to foster the academic research and boost what is called the border studies areas. And at the same time, we all know the importance of the EU border regions in socioeconomic and demographic terms. There are more than 40 borders, internal land borders, that are interested in this so-called interaction. More than 1/3 of the population lives there and producing 30% roughly of the EU GDP. And looking at the closer, more local perspective, from the local to the medium-sized cities, then to the main urban and metropolitan center, there is a need for a better and more cross-border interaction to unlock the socioeconomic potential of those territories. So, as Ricardo has previously said, since 2015, there has been a systematic and ongoing efforts to collect data and gather data on several topics regarding cross-border interaction. You can see on public transport, cross-border public services, healthcare cooperation, energy communities, but also on the cross-border organizations and the structures that try from the institutional level to overcome these negative effects produced by the national border, and at the same time also with a specific focus on obstacles and their solutions. And what is more interesting, I think that this data collection still is ongoing, also with a collaboration with the several institutions from the Committee of Regions, the ESPROM program in the EU scene, but also from several organizations and stakeholders very keen on analyzing the cross-border areas as the Association of European Border Regions, the Mission Opérationnelle Transfrontalière, and the Central European Services for Cross-Border Initiative, and many other local and regional stakeholders. So our role as GRC was, especially this one, try to make those information more understandable, more comparable, and accessible to a wider audience of policymakers, either policymaker and academics. So try to build indicators. So from our side, we do not collect data, we process the data that has been collected by all the stakeholders. So starting from the REGIO inventory of cross-border interactions, we have defined the first step, which are the most significant geographical scale to analyze and aggregate those data. We checked the data availability. When, for example, geospatial information were missing, we went back to the stakeholders for further data collections. Then we established 10 criteria for checking the quality and the feasibility of the entire work. We have selected then which are the feasible layer, and then the process of data cleansing and data preparation, therefore the data harmonization through the GIS, that stands for the Geographical Information System analysis, so basically mapping those data, started looking at the conversion of several geometry into more standardized and harmonized units, aggregating data, building indicators, and enrich those data, as Alessandro also mentioned, with more traditional or statistical data that have been also produced internally by our unit. And finally, looking at the data visualization, how this information can be better displayed to a wider audience. And when we're talking about the geographical scales, we have focused our analysis on three main extent. So the border areas, the data you will be displayed on the platform are per, you said, on the left side on the border areas. So this 43 units of 25 kilometer buffer zone from the border. So to look at the cross-border interaction stricto sensu, which is very useful when we got data, very granular data, specifically at grid level. So like satellite images of the geostats, so the population grid from Eurostat, the NUTS-3 border regions, so the units as defined by Eurostat. That means the border regions touching the statistical Eurostat unit, touching the border, plus those that has more than half of the population within this 25 kilometer buffer zone. And lastly, on the right side, the municipalities, so the local administrative units, more than 16,000 have been identified. So the same process as all the municipalities within this 25 kilometer buffer zone. Talking about the criteria, we have established, as I said, 10 key criteria to analyze and to check the feasibility, to assess those data, especially focusing on the coverage, because we look with we have a pan-European perspective. We do not focus on a specific region, be as a GRC, so providing the services to the whole European, to the European Commission, the policies DGs, and the whole EU authority. We have to look at all the border regions, also considering the updatability criteria, so that information were present in the past, that are in the present, and will be still in the future, based on reliable sources, as for example, official statistic or data produced by the stakeholder I previously mentioned on cross-border interactions. So here you see we have created three main groups of feasible dataset that can be transformed into indicator and aggregated at the different geographical scales. There are basically data on the cross-border public services, governance, obstacles, and healthcare cooperation projects. We have another group of potentially feasible datasets that need further data cleaning and harmonization. And lastly, other documents, static maps, and tables that are available and will be also made available in the future as a downloadable files, because as we said, the idea is to create a data hub containing all the information for border regions. And this is just an example how we move from data provision to data harmonization. This is the data set provided by the ESPON project on cross-border public services. We have assigned each services and each interaction to the NUTS-3 regions, and are expressed either in absolute value or in ratio. And you see that calculating this indicator in relation to the population provide a completely another narrative of what is occurring on the European border regions. It is also true that beyond this fixed geometry, in the future there will be other geometry that can be considered for wider data provision on the specific location. We will start developing this second interactive map tools from the next year. So this is the URL. So urban grc.europa.eu/across, the name of the project, to explore the data. It will be available at the end of the presentation. Let me just click, and now going to the platform. I hope, Andrew, you can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
This is the main web page of the Data Hub for the EU border regions, which has been now put it into our territorial development unit dashboard, interactive maps and tools. You can see there are several focus on the regional focus, on the urban data platform, the rural observatory, and other more thematic data sets and tools. So, but before starting, please let me thank all the IT teams, especially Federico Albinola, Carmelo Attardo, internally, that have been made this process reality. Our graphic designer, Laura Spirit, and the communication officer, Elisa Bazzani, for the huge work that has been done to make all this data and material available for the wider public. So, scrolling down, you would find on the platform in the Data Hub a brief explanation of what the European border regions are about the projects. You have a specific entry to get more insight information on the policy context and the methodology. It's quite intuitive because there is an interactive menu where you can switch from one chapter to the other to have a look at the methodological process, the scale, the data cleansing and preparation, how basically we have worked so far with this process. You can see all our additional sources that have been used. So here is just to you to know that there is this specific page. Then to explore the data, what is actually interesting here for us, we have two interactive map view. We can focus on a specific border region and compare them with other similar case in Europe, as I was saying at the beginning of the presentation, or to have a wider perspective, so on the map view on the whole EU cross-border regions. But before launching the map, let me just scroll down to give you a complete overview of this page. So as I was saying a few slides ago, here you have all the others data sets and information available, like studies, maps, or data sets with more resources on cross-border interaction. You can easily connect with all the cross-border community and organizations that have been involved in this project, or they are relevant for always considering not a specific region, but in a wider EU perspective. Then you have the opportunity also to stay updated here on the border focal point news, events, or get the latest publication, scientific publication on the Journal of Borderland Studies. And last but not the least, please, I encourage you to submit, to subscribe to our mailing list to be updated on our future activities, dataset that can be released in the future by clicking on the survey here. So back on the map, let me just open the map view. It's a very user-friendly and interactive view. So here you have basically the possibility to select an indicator and then the territorial level. For example, you go to the cross-border interactions. There are two main groups on cross-border interaction and cross-border dynamics, to more traditional, we can say, cross-border data, regional and local statistics. So if we go to, for example, public services, we can click on the cross-border public services area. You see that the data start to appear on the map with their legends. So on the right side of the screen, you would see more additional feature and specification. You have all the metadata related to what you are seeing on the screen. It says that here we have 3 series, so you can easily switch from one dataset to another. For example, the total amount of cross-border public services per capita per 100,000 inhabitants, estimated calculated per linear kilometer or per the total amount of CPS, and the map will change accordingly. You will be able to download directly from here all the inventory. Then we have other features like the bar rank to compare regions. If you click on one bar or on one region, the specific border areas here will be highlighted, and it can be by clicking on the map. These two areas can be easily compared between each other. And then finally here you have also the opportunity to download the data, and basically in a spreadsheet format, in the common separated value into format, or in the JSON for the Java script to be ingested in your system. There is also here the chance to switch. You will not pick one indicator, but instead you want to know by clicking on these two arrows here to look at the specific territorial level, and then select the available indicator for this territorial scale. Another example, we can say the amount of cross-border projects per healthcare cross-border project per NUTS-free level. Interestingly, here you have also the possibility to adjust and customize the legends. You can put your own value. For example, you can say that and decide which are the thresholds that can be adjusted to your need, save, and then the visualization would change accordingly. To get the access to the other view, here you have a quick icon here, my border regions. So this is to compare regions. For example, you can type for a municipality, border regions, border areas. If I type, for example, Spain, I would get the Spain-France cross-border area. Here I get by default the data on cross-border public services. I can add information on public transport, healthcare, and governance. And here now I want to compare it with the Portuguese border. So it is Spain, Portugal, border regions. So two regions are here compared with all their indicator. You will be then able to print the report, or getting a more complex view. Here you have all the description of indicators and the performance of these two municipalities, two border regions, or two border areas in several indicators. You see the obstacles, for example, as reported by the applicants, or the cross-border healthcare projects, the rail performance indicators, and the best idea to come, because we're going to add more indicator and more data in the future. So here data on cross-border interaction, and then on cross-border dynamics. You see the more traditional statistic on cross-border. So here you have on demography, something on tourism, on energy and climate, but have a look here. For example, yes, you have the population change. Wow, these data are very interesting to see how population have changed into the two border regions. So Spanish-Portugal one is shrinking, and the French-Spain one is growing. Consider this 200-kilometer area, and then only mentioning that there is a possibility. Okay, you can save your favorites indicators, so you can have your custom view, and there is a last icon here to download directly the indicator. For example, selecting again the cross-border public services and selecting which indicator you would like to download and the specific format. So I think that that's all from my side. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience, and looking forward to receiving your comments and your view on these new tools. Thank you very much, and I stop sharing my screen.
Matteo, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for showing us and guiding us through how to use the Across Data Hub. That's terrific. We've had a number of comments in the chat about the 25-kilometer border zoning, and I think it's Ricardo has very helpfully said it does depend upon the nature of the data sources. How that 25 kilometers might be used. So for public transport, it was, I think he said the solution was 25 kilometers and the closest urban node, should the 25 kilometers not include such a node. So clearly it is modulated according to the particular circumstances of that data set. But the geography of 25 kilometers can be, as I think some people have said, very different in different places. How do you modulate the data for those factors?
Yeah, thank you for putting this question, Andrew. Indeed, one of the main goals of this project is to try to represent this cross-border interaction at different scales. So it's true that we have more official and statistical data per, for example, the NATS units, the LA municipality, but we get closer to the 25-kilometer buffer zone, as Alessandro was mentioning, because our territorial unit is very looking much forward to getting granular data. So when we get, for example, point data, or for population or a specific services that can be mapped in this area, so we try to aggregate this information in this 25-kilometer buffer zone. But as I said, in the future, other geometries can be also included. So we have the 25-kilometer stricto sensu, for example, for population, for mapping all the cross-border public services that are indeed very, very occurring across the national boundaries. So in that narrow fringe to see what is happening. But at the same time, should we also consider other scales?
Very good. Thank you very much. Matteo, we'll come back to you later with additional questions, but we want to take views from our participants in our second poll and hear from two stakeholders. But let's just hear from our participants on the second poll, which is to ask what other data you would like to see on the platform. We've had the live demonstration. We can see much of the data that is available. Is there additional data that you would like to see shared on the platform? Now, while people are responding to that poll, let's hear from two stakeholders. And first, let's go to Andrea Cina, who is Research and Policy Manager at ESPON, which, as we heard, is about cross-border public services. Andrea, would you like to just tell us about your response to Across, what it offers and how you see its value?
Good morning. Thank you for this kind invitation. Thank you, Luana. It is a great pleasure to be part of today's event and bring forward a bit from the ESPON experience and perspectives. As you might know, ESPON is one of the Interreg funded programs that is supporting the implementation of EU development policies, particular cohesion policy. We carry out our activities working with and for these policymakers on all levels and providing them with robust territorial evidence to guide support and their decision making. Next slide, please. In the cross-border context, ESPON offers a wealth of research studies, but I will go very much in the line of what was presented already, that one conclusion emerges concerning the access to quantitative and qualitative data, that we need to collect and update relevant data sets, that the need is ever growing, so that we have these indicators available for different policy-making decisions. This is partly due to the fact that the number of cross-border forms of cooperation has been growing due to the increasing number of exchanges at and between border regions. Recent developments such as COVID pandemic or the war in Ukraine have highlighted a more acute need to coordinate measures and actions between neighboring states at EU level too, that should be based on timely and relevant evidence. So this is essential not only for fostering effective cooperation, but also for monitoring interaction levels in a rapidly evolving context. And while at local level, different solutions are found organically, in order to facilitate or enhance the cooperation. For other levels like regional European, the situation becomes more complex. I can only reinforce that two key issues stand out, and maybe in line with the poll that has already been closed, with the lack of harmonized definitions, methodologies, but also restrictions in collecting or sharing data across borders. This is why, in exploring different challenges and exploring to different needs, initial efforts were directed from a bottom-up approach in the ESPON research via targeted analysis, but also looking for additional data sources. For this, I would like maybe to highlight a few notable projects, like potential of big data for integrated territorial policy development in the European Growth Corridors 2019 project that has covered 13 major cities from Finland, Sweden, or Estonia. It analyzed key flows and interactions with the help of big data mobile positioning or traffic measurements, and how these tools can be used in delivering policymaking with timely, detailed evidence. We found this type of evidence being highly relevant for the corridor governance, for instance. I can also name the TICBC, the Territorial Impact Assessment for Cross-Border Cooperation, another 2019 project that aimed to develop and test methodology specifically tailored to assess ex post territorial impacts of the CBC programs, but also improve the understanding of the data needs in this ex post assessment. And not last, but the cross-border public services, a project that was initially developed in 2010 and then upgraded in 2022. This intensive work in collaboration with stakeholders led to that some studies have been transformed into EU-wide inventories. I would ask Luana to kindly support with a click and then the next slide. The cross-border public services, I will delve a bit into this one. I see it as one of the flagship projects for ESPON, and is one of the most relevant example in what data collection means. It was initially launched as a targeted analysis involving 11 stakeholders from 10 cross-border regions. And this project produced at the first partly comprehensive overview of CPS across Europe, including for neighbor countries. It developed a common methodological framework for defining CPS, established a database with first approximately 600 registered CPS. As mentioned, this was one of the first attempts done for the entire EU territory. The results of these projects proved to be very valuable as the debate was sparked around the topic, and as a consequence, in 2021, DG REGIO and ESPON launched two projects which have been developed in a collaborative and coordinated effort, which led to the consolidation and validation of this concept of common definition of cross-border public services, the development of a system for the continuous update and monitoring, and the dramatic expansion of the knowledge base, resulting in an inventory of over 1,500 CPSs. Luana, help me with the click, please. This is what we call the ESPON REGIO inventory. Could you go to the next slide, please? And although all the small steps amounted to very good results, we know that there are still a lot of things to be done. And of course, our work is not finished. The cross-platform is maybe one of the most important cornerstones in this sense, that brings together results yielded by different data providers, including us, and playing a critical role in ensuring standardization and enhancing comparability. I will end my presentation here, but I remain at the disposal for any information.
Andrea, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for that really interesting observation on some of the work that you've been doing, and some terrific maps, if I may say so, very colourful maps. We love maps, don't we?
We do.
We do. Or geographic information systems, as we must now call them.
That
so,
too.
Our participants have been responding to the question of what further data people would like to see shared through the Data Hub. The largest number of respondents are for education and training information. The second largest number about safety and risk management. Third largest number on public investments. And then a number also for shared natural resources. And we have seen in the chat one or two suggestions, including, I think there's some very useful reflections on the extent to which vectors of labour mobility or social interactions might be reflected into the material. And I think, was it Ollie on the chat was asking about labour market data, and I think Ricardo very helpfully told us about the further work that is anticipated on the analysis of cross-border regional labour markets. So that's very going to be very interesting, and I know that's very important information to be added. So let's come to a second viewpoint from a stakeholder organisation. Romina Cucina is director at the EGTC for Territorial Cooperation in Gorizia, Nova Gorica. Romina, apologies if I haven't pronounced everything correctly, but Romina, over to you. Your response to the Data Hub and the opportunities that it presents and the way in which you are tackling these issues in your region.
So hello to everybody. First of all, thank you for having invited me to participate and give me the possibility to say a few words. I met Matteo in Brussels a couple of times, and he anticipated me about this data hub collection and preparation, and I found it really very interesting from our perspective and our work. So why I'm here? So the EGTC GO, European Group of Territorial Cooperation, is based in Gorizia, as you said. So we are the EGTC on the border with Slovenia. So between Gorizia, Nova Gorica, and Szentpéter-Wertolba. So we are a really small EGTC, about 3 municipalities, more or less 80,000 people altogether. So you can imagine 3 municipalities like one small city at the end. So we are facing, we are a public entity and daily facing with cross-border activities and issues, as you may know. Till now, we have worked to foster cooperation and to develop common strategies among these 3 small municipalities. Some things we have developed are like cycle paths through Interreg projects mainly. We build a bridge, having the possibility to choose which tender procedure to be applied. You know, we have this possibility. We can choose if applying Italian or Slovene tenders. So which jurisdiction we want to apply, because we have jurisdiction on both sides of the border. In health sector, we also did some things thanks to Interreg projects. Mainly we facilitate common groups, shared cooperation among the operators. But what we did not overcome are institutional and administrative barriers to set a unique health system. So why I'm talking about a unique health system? Because we are small and we have 2 hospitals very close, offering services that can be complementary. So in this sense, a common a common data hub at the cross-border level will probably help us to convince the policy level about the need to do this step. Another example is also, as we are talking about common things, is the management of common public spaces, such as squares on the borders. We have the example of Europe Square, which is now important for us because it's the symbol of the European Capital of Culture for next year. It's a square which is actually on the border between the two cities. It's open, so you can walk through the square from a side to another with no sense of border. But what is still missing is a common management of the place. So also in this, we have studied and prepared a couple of B-Solutions projects on that topic, but we still don't find the solution. So also in this case, a common data hub of information, of data, could help the preparation of proposals to address the policy level about the need of a common management. And last but not least, the public transport. We are in the phase of supporting level, at the policy level, in setting up a common cross-border public transport service. We are talking in particular about cross-border buses. We have now a cross-border bus, but it's only going from point A to point B, no stops in the middle. So we really want to have a step forward and use it really like a public service. Also in this case, we found out there is a different system of data collection in the cities. So it's something managed at state level, of course. And therefore, it's very difficult to find a common solution also in that case. So also in general, monitoring and evaluation at cross-border level is different for all activities and services because it's based on different systems of data collection at the end. So yes, in some cases, in most of them, countries are not aligned on the same needs, actually. So I will conclude. In conclusion, for us, having a common data hub, which provide us also with the information at municipality level, will be really a step forward to facilitate the cross-border policy and decision-making. This is from our really perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Romina. Thank you very much indeed for giving us those very practical examples of how you're using, acquiring and managing data across your region. Thank you. Time is against us, but I just want to come back, Matteo, to you with one question, please, if I may. The first poll, we heard from our participants that lack of common data standardization approaches was, they thought, the biggest challenge. And in your presentation, you said that you process data, which is collected, of course, from a number of state and other sources. I wondered, is there a feedback loop? Can you tell us, is the feedback from your work going to the many organizations responsible for the original collection of data and the standards that are applied to that data to try and overcome the problems that our participants saw in common data standards?
Yes, thank you for the question, Andrew. Indeed, what this is the big challenge of this across project and more in general on the data standardization approaches. Actually, yes, we are trying and we are start achieving some to have some common ground in sharing the, for example, the same classification or the same standard for classifying these territorial areas or several other kind of specific and more sectorial information. So yes, I think it's quite successful, and sharing the same standards is our common ground to then start building new data sets and to provide more robust and more updatable data for cross-border interactions.
Thank you very much, Matteo. And indeed, I think you can see on the chat, we got quite a number of additional points that we could have gone on to, but time is against us. But do please keep an eye on the chat, keep an eye on some of those very good points being made there, and indeed some of the very useful responses and the links and references that are there. But my happy task is to say a very big thank you to you, Matteo, and to your colleagues, but especially to you for the live demonstration today. You can see from the response from our many participants that it has been really valuable to them to see how this data hub can be accessed by them for their use, and indeed for the feedback today on how it might be developed and further extended in the future. Andrea, Romina, thank you very much for your responses as stakeholders. Can I remind all of our participants that on, as you look forward, on the 20th of January 2025, DG REGIO will host the launch event for the Handbook on Cross-Border Energy Communities in its premises in Brussels. The Handbook is a tool for citizens and local actors who wish to engage in cross-border energy projects. It will provide practical information and good practice for you in your energy communities cross-border. So once more, great thanks to all of our participants. Thank you, so many of you, for being with us today. Do please continue the debate through the Border Focal Point Network. Keep an eye out for the newsletters. Contribute on Futurium. As you can see, the link is coming up on the chat right now. Our next cross-border focal point borders debate, Beyond Borders breakfast debate, will be in the new year. So it simply falls for me to say, do have a very happy holiday season. We very much look forward to seeing you in the new year 2025, another year when cross-border regions in Europe will be able further to demonstrate how they are the living laboratories of European integration, creating success for their local communities. Thank you all very much indeed. Do have a very good day ahead. Thank you once again to all of our good friends at DG REGIO and at the Joint Research Centre for the terrific presentations they've given us this morning. Thank you all very much indeed. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.